Hey, Mitch.
Oh, hey, Ed.
Hey,
What are you supposed to be?
what do you mean? I'm all ready for our Planet of the Apes special. It's going to be amazing.
No, for God's sakes, Ed. Not Abe's. Apes with the P, the one with Charlton Heston and Roddy McDowell.
Yeah. That's the one where Charlton Heston goes into the future and he sees a planet filled with Abraham Lincolns.
No, Ed. No, you're confusing them. That Abraham Lincoln thing, that was with the Marky Mark movie. This is the original. We're going to talk about Planet of the Apes, the TV show, the movies, not Planet of the Apes.
They're all apes. That sounds stupid. But I guess it explains why you're wearing a monkey mask.
I'm not wearing a mask.
Let's just start the show. Hi, this is Ed Dollister.
And this is Monkey Man Mitch Halleck.
And welcome to another exciting episode of Mitch and Ed's Excellent Adventure. If it's your first time here, thanks so much for stopping by. If you are a regular viewer, thank you so much for coming back. Mitch, if you want to find out a little bit more about our show and maybe what we offer, what can you do?
Oh, Ed, is as simple as going back in time, but finding out you're really in the future and your planet's been taken over by a bunch of apes. All you do is hit the subscribe button on the bottom and you'll know all about Mitch and Ed's Excellent Adventures. Hit the notification bell and you'll be notified when we put one of these suckers up. And just for the heck of it, hit the like button because it makes Ed and I feel all warm and fuzzy like a monkey, because that's what we're talking about today, isn't it, Ed?
It is. We're talking about the classic 1968 and the 70s sequels, TV series and cartoons, and of course merchandise of Planet of the Apes. Now, I'm pretty sure we were both a bit too young to see Planet of the Apes in the cinema. My first memory actually of Planet of the Apes is from, it was on TV. It was during the day. It must have been like the mid 70s, I think it was. And I had nightmares after seeing that film.
Yes.
Absolutely nightmares
Yes.
from them peeling off their faces.
Uh-huh.
I don't know why they would show that in Australia on daytime television, but it freaked me out. But anyway.
I, too, was aware of Planet of the Apes as a young child because being born in 1966, I was in the thick of ape madness. I mean, everybody was going ape back in the early 70s and stuff. My dad, God rest his soul, took the whole family in the car. And I think I talked about this on our drive-in special, which is also available on our channel.
Yep.
He took me to go see Escape from Planet of the Apes. I don't know what that man was thinking. That came out in 1972 or 3, I think it was.
Escape
71. Oh, 71. Oh, okay. So that explains
Oh,
it.
no, that would have been, sorry. That was beneath the Planet of the Apes was where they pulled off the face.
Oh, the mutant people. Oh, yeah. That's the second one.
So that was 70.
This is the third one, and it's got to be 72. We'll know on the bottom.
It's
all I know is
Escape was 71.
Okay, it's 71 then. So I'm about 4 or 5. Yeah, something like that. I don't know. So Dad takes us in the station wagon. My mom, me, my 2 older sisters, Debbie and Kim, and we're gonna go see Planet of the Apes. And when you're at that age, you don't know the difference between actors and people in monkey masks, So we're in there and I'm watching it and I'm like, okay, this is kind of funny. Because if you know the story of Escape from Planet Apes, we're jumping ahead a bit.
Yeah.
But that was more a satirical, kind of humorous look at society. And, it's kind of done tongue-in-cheek type of thing. But I remember the scene that started getting me all like scared, even though I was already a little frightened of this whole movie, is when the psychiatrist puts Zira under.
Mm-hmm.
And he starts to find out what happens in the future about humans and the apes taking over and all that stuff. And I don't know what happens after that. I do think there's some gunplay. I don't know. It got violent all of a sudden. All I remember, I get really freaked out about it.
Yep.
Lord knows we didn't stay for the whole movie because I started getting, crying, and my dad was mad because he wanted to watch the movie and there's nowhere to go because you're all in the car. So he had to leave and he wasn't thrilled about that. But good thing we didn't stay to the end. And again, we're jumping ahead. That was one of the most violent movies I think it's rated G too, which is crazy when you think about it, because I guess there's no sex or no swearing in it, but there's violence in it. They kill, spoiler alert, they kill Cornelius. They shoot him and he falls
off the ship.
Yeah, and he's doing
and you see him hit.
Yeah. And it's such a bad dummy that goes, now you look back, there's no CGI. And then Zira gets shot in the gut, and then the guy shoots the baby.
And they throw the baby over the
baby in the water.
But they switch.
Yeah.
We are jumping ahead. We are, but
yeah, I know. But I'm just saying that was crazy to take a little kid. I don't know what my parents were thinking. I got to talk to my mom about that. So anyway, that was my first exposure to Planet of the Apes. And I think it kind of spooked me out, because over here in the New York area, we would have the 4:30 movie, and it was on from 4:30 to 6 o'clock. And they would have Ape Week, they'd have Monster Week, and they'd have all these like themed weeks. And when it was Planet of the Apes week, oh man, that was something else. Because what they would do is they'd show it in 2 parts, because they had to put a lot of commercials in. So you'd have Planet of the Apes on Monday and Tuesday. And then Wednesday, you'd have Beneath the Planet of the Apes, and Wednesday and Thursday. But then Friday, they didn't have much time. So it'd be like, and Escape. And they'd only see like half the movie. And you're like, well, where's the other half? And I never understood that was about.
It escaped from the studio. That's
but
right.
Ape Week was a crazy time. And like I said, as a kid in kindergarten, in the first, second grades here in the early 70s, Apes was everywhere. As much as Star Wars would be everywhere at the end of the decade, at that time, Planet of the Apes was everywhere. There were toys, there was comic books, there was cartoon shows and all that stuff. But let's start in the beginning. We're talking about a book based on a French satirist, if you will.
Yeah, Pierre Boel, who wrote the book, who also wrote, do you know what else Pierre Boel wrote?
Was that Bridge on the River Kwai?
It was Bridge on the River Kwai. So he wrote that, and it was picked up by the movie studios, and they went forward and they commissioned some screenwriters, one particularly famous screenwriter who to work on Planet of the Apes, where originally it was going to be the planet was going to be more futuristic. So it was going to be a lot more futuristic, but they had to pare that back because of budget constraints and everything like that. But do you know who the one of the original screenwriters who came up with that twist ending? Do you know who that is?
Would that be Rod Serling?
It would be Rod Serling
from the Twilight Zone.
Exactly. And given that we're we've been binge watching the original series, we're up to season 3 at the moment. That man is a genius. We need to do a Twilight Zone episode, because that's a great series. He's was and still is a smart writer. What he has come up with. Well, he's wherever he is in the Twilight Zone now. But so
you know where he lived at?
Really? Was it Bridgeport?
No, it's actually on the New York border. It's not far here, because they have like a little statue and everything for
really.
Yeah.
Might have to go visit that, I think.
You might have to go. There's a merry-go-round there, which is reference to that merry-go-round episode where
the guy goes
Gig Young.
Yeah, and he goes anyway. That's a whole different.
Yeah, that's he falls, breaks his arm. Yeah.
Is it
sure.
Is it anywhere near your statue, Mitch, or is that is yours more in Connecticut?
Which statue would that be, Ed?
You do have multiple statues of you. I thought, anyway, all right, let's keep going.
P.T. Barnum statue?
Oh, no, I thought there's a statue of you, King of the Nerds.
Somewhere. Oh, well, there's that. It's made out of butter. It melted. But anyway, no, you're right in correcting that the Planet of the Apes, the budget was going to be crazy on this thing. And the other thing, too, is the effects, because, you want to make it look believable. And when most of the cast is apes, it's kind of hard to do. And if you watch, there's some screen tests on YouTube, and there's making ofs on a lot of the DVD and Blu-ray sets. There was a creepy makeup effect going on for a while, because you had and originally, let's just talk about this, Edward G. Robinson was going to be against Charlton Heston. Now they worked together in Soylent Green and not Omega Man, but anyway, they work together. But there's some tests. They look more human-like. If you see some of the screen tests and the makeup tests for that too, it wasn't the full out nose and the eyebrows and all that stuff. It was more just looked just like a human kind of, and they just kind of put some long hair and that type of thing too. But
and when you think about monkey makeup or monkey costumes prior to that, it was just someone in a rubber suit that looked horrendous. These looked really good, and while they're not maybe as they're able to articulate their mouths as much as they would today or anything like that, they still are pretty amazing. And you got to remember that the makeup artist they actually won a special Academy Award for their makeup design, and it wouldn't be until I think 1981 where they first created a special makeup effects Oscar, which I think it was American Werewolf in London won in 81. So, the makeup still holds up pretty well, and you can still get, the actor's expression and more importantly, to see their eyes, I think, which is really.
No, and the other thing too, the fellow's name, I'm going to say, correct me, it might be Chamberlain.
I'll put it up down below if it's wrong.
Yeah, but if you go to watch the movie Argo, the CIA actually had this fellow working for them because he was so good at makeup effects and disguises and such. They actually used him on some covert operations later on. The whole trying to get some hostages out of Iran years later in the late 70s and stuff. It's a whole movie. Ben Affleck did it. They pretended they were doing a movie set, but in the movie, John Goodman plays his character too. But I was gonna say I thought it was Stuart Freeborn, because you got to remember they have the 2001 Stanley Kubrick going on too in the late 60s, and Stuart Freeborn, who went on to do all the Star Wars effects, like Yoda and such too. I thought he was involved, but I guess I'm wrong. It wasn't Stuart Freeborn who did the Planet Apes.
I don't think it was.
No, it wasn't. But if you watch Planet of the Apes and you like 2001, the opening sequence where they have the Dawn of Man, there is some kind of similarities, but those are more ape-like, where the characters in Planet of the Apes were, honestly, they were much more human, really. I mean, they don't walk around and, drag their knuckles like I do on a typical day. They were in, little smocks and suits and little, I don't know.
Yeah, they hinted towards their, simian sort of ancestry, I think, but they also won for the movie. Again, we're all over the shop today, but
I know it's a lot of movies.
There is. You spoke about their costumes. They were nominated for best costume design, and Jerry Goldsmith was nominated for best score.
Oh, that score! Oh my God! When I was a kid, and they would teach music appreciation in high school, they would use that soundtrack to teach us. I mean, it's that soundtrack is scary, because I remember as a kid when they're doing that human hunt and they have all the humans out in the high grass and the apes, gorillas are coming with the sticks and they're capturing them in the net. You hear, root, root, and you hear the horns blowing, and it's just, you want to run and hide. I mean, honestly, that is just as impactful as like the Jaws music, what John Williams would be in Star Wars and all that stuff. But the Planet of the Apes music is up there with Psycho's score. It's scary. I mean, you don't know what's going on in that thing.
Oh, yeah.
But do you know, how did Charlton Heston come about? Because he was a pretty big star to be involved in such a weird science fiction.
I know. I mean, he later on this is probably the start of his association with science fiction or sort of science, that quasi science fiction sort of thing. Because after this, you said there was a Mega Man,
Green, a Mega Man.
So yeah, I'm not too sure how they got him. I know they were looking at there was a few actors that they were looking at, but I suppose it's like having Marlon Brando in Superman. You want something to add a bit of gravitas and to the project that it is, and he's great. He takes. It's funny. He's not that surprised. I don't know if he's that surprised. He seems pretty easygoing to be landing on another planet.
It's like, whatever. Yeah. You know what other thing scared me too? Because when I remember watching this on TV, the original, we're talking about the original Planet of the Apes. is the opening sequence when they go under suspended animation.
Yes.
And then they land, and then they go to check on the female astronaut, and
Yes.
her whatever you want, her capsule got smacked.
Yes.
And she aged, and there's a skeleton in it, and you hear that screechy music when the close up of the dead body in there. It's like, oh, there's a lot of those like pop-up scares, And then they filmed this over in the Lake Tahoe area, where the big where the ship crash lands and it sinks to the bottom of that. That's out there. It's beautiful land, beautiful country out there in the Grand Canyon, Arizona, Nevada area, such like that. But I don't know if that budget did much, because it was all just natural. The only thing that freaked me out about that is, why didn't the astronauts who are astronauts notice that the moon is the same moon that they had on the Earth? I mean, you would have looked up and thought, well, yeah.
Well, that's the whole thing. They sort of don't. I mean, they always, maybe it's just because to set the premise up for that killer twist ending, maybe they just assume that they've gone to a, another Earth-like planet. Because even when Taylor, when he finds there's the doll, there's the heart valve, he just, he says, oh, we have versions of those on our planet. So
he hasn't figured out yet that he's on the Earth yet.
The wonderful Roddy McDowall as Cornelius.
Kim Hunter.
Yes, Kim Hunter as Zira. I did have a Zira doll, but I sold her. But I don't know why the Zira doll, of all the dolls, I don't know why I didn't get a Ursus or a Zaius or something like that. I had a Zira doll. And Maurice Evans played Dr. Zaius or Dr. Zaius.
Now, Maurice Evans, I knew him from Bewitched. He was her dad. Agnes Moorehead. It was Esmeralda. That was her mom. And her dad was played by Maurice Evans.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, there you go. But he was
Endora. Wasn't Endora the mother?
Endora, I'm sorry. Yeah. Endora was Agnes Moorehead.
Yeah. But
go ahead.
No, I'm just saying it had a really good cast. And you must have thought, well, when they originally signed on, well, I'm going to be hidden behind all this makeup. But again, the makeup was great. You could still get their performance through.
Now, one of the things I heard as a kid watching it was that the actors chewed gum underneath the mask, because it made that, that made the mouth move a little bit. That's how they did that. I mean, I suppose there was a lot of ADR where they came back in afterwards and looped it, and because you didn't have to match the lips up like you said.
That's right.
And rounding out the cast, besides the other two astronauts who go there with Taylor. It's Taylor, Landon, and we already had this discussion. It's
Dodge.
Dodge.
No, Dodge. Not Hodge.
We also have the lovely wife of one of the producers. Was it Robert Zanuck's wife who got the part as Nova? That's how she got cast in that movie. She's on the con circuit. One of the few surviving cast members of the original Apes, the Ape movies, is the actress that plays Nova.
Linda Harrison,
thank you. Not to be fused with the Linda
Harrison Ford? No,
I'm thinking of one from Terminator 2.
Linda Hamilton. Or Linda Hunt.
What? Oh, God. There you go.
Oh, that even made it go out of focus. How did that happen?
That was a big sneeze. The other one that's still alive is Julian, who is the younger ape, who at the end of the movie, Charlton Heston says, never trust anybody over 18, I believe he says.
Yes.
He's still alive.
Oh,
Julian.
Well, you might get those for a future convention. You never know.
I've seen them at conventions. I've gone and seen them. So anyway, we know the movie. It happens. The ending, it's not the ending that's in the book. The ending that's in the book is the apes, take off spacesuits or something. I can't. I read it years ago.
So because in the book, basically, it's the story they're telling the story of this society and everything like that. And the reveal is that the two astronauts that you've been, the husband and wife that you've been reading about, are actually apes.
Yeah,
so that's sort of the reveal, which works in a book. But you couldn't really do it unless they were wearing helmets for the entire, entire movie, and then they take it off, which you sort of see in Escape from the Planet of the Apes, but
right, that happens.
But so, the film, anyway, the film was, the ending is amazing, where you get to see the the Statue of Liberty. That there's that amazing reveal. You hear him say, "You crazy,
Damn
you
all the hell."
Yeah. There's a few good lines. Take your goddamn.
No, it's not goddamn.
Isn't it?
Oh well, you know what they censor? It's weird here in the States.
Ape, isn't it that?
Yeah, you damn. You can't say goddamn. You can't say Jesus Christ. You can't say goddamn. They would bleep that out. I'm like, you could say everything else, but you can't say that. Seriously?
Really?
Like even when Indiana Jones: The Last Crusade is on television, this whole scene where he goes Jesus Christ and he gets slapped, they bleep that out.
No.
Yeah.
Not in Australia.
Well, Australia is founded by criminals. We're founded by religious Puritans because we're messed up, America. Anyway, it's true. I don't. Your invisible God we can't have that on TV.
Anyway. Well, there you go. Anyway, that ending is amazing.
Anyway, yes. So when I was a kid, they would bleep that out. You would never hear that. And every time you watched it, at the end of it, he goes, it would be, God, what is it? Oh, does he say, God damn it? God damn it. Damn you all to hell. What I would hear is, I'm home. When he sees it, you don't see what he's looking at yet. He gets off the horse and it's off camera and he's like, and he does the Charlton Heston thing with the grimace and he's like, I'm home. And then he goes, damn you. And he starts pounding the sand with his fist. And he goes, you blew it up, you maniacs. You blew it up. And he goes, God damn you all to hell. Here, you would never hear, God damn. It would always be, damn you all to hell. Maybe they'd let the damn come on TV. I swear. I mean, it took years for it to actually get to hear the whole dialogue. So what are you going to do? It's okay to shoot people. It's okay to give them a lobotomy. It's okay to, shoot little baby monkeys and throw them in the river at the number 3, but don't you dare swear.
Yeah. So there was a sequel. There was a sequel that came out after Planet of the Apes was a big success. It was critically well, maybe not acclaimed.
It was acclaimed.
Okay, it was acclaimed, and so they moved forward on a sequel. So that was Beneath the Planet of the Apes. The one that scarred me, where you found out there were basically a bunch of human survivors. Mutants. Okay, mutants, and they were worshiping the atomic
bomb, the Alpha Omega bomb.
So in the end, what essentially happens, they get revealed because they look normal, and then they reveal themselves to be all
scarred.
And that, oh my God, I think in my memory it's worse than it actually
was. You know where they got that effect from? That effect is from like the Grey's Anatomy type of books, where they, Grey's Anatomy, it's a book for surgeons and doctors, but when you're an artist, you use it as well because it tells you all the musculature underneath. So when you go to draw, but there's whole pages where it's just like they pull the skin off and they show you all the layers of muscles and how it all looks. And then when they were doing the effects, the guy said, hey, do that. That's creepy enough. Just like take the skin off and show you what your muscles look like underneath all this fat. But besides that, they couldn't get Charlton Heston back, and they told him, what can we do to make you come back? He says, you got to kill Taylor.
Yep.
I'll come back if I get a death scene. Because unlike today, where they do a sequel every 5 minutes around here, back then, sequels were not looked upon favorably.
No.
And 2, he was, like I said, he was a big star, and he's like, I don't want to come back to do this. Because, sequels, it made it look like you were a little hard up, So they got James Franciscus, who looks like Charlton Heston.
He does. That always confused me as a kid. I thought they were the same person.
Yeah, and he was gone. And it's also a weird story that not only did he go on the same time loop trajectory as Taylor did, but he ends up crash landing in the same area. He finds Nova. And it's almost beat for beat the first movie until the end, when they go into the Forbidden Zone, which is that area where you find the mutants, and then it's underground. They're in the subway tunnels of New York City. And the other odd thing I never understood about Planet of the Apes is, okay, I live around here. I'm 45 miles from downtown Times Square. I know what the area looks like. I get the Statue of Liberty could be in the ground and, you know, all messed up like that. But where do these canyons come from? Where do these rocks and these, I mean, if they had a nuclear bomb and it blew everything up, how did it change the whole, you know, terraforming of the earth there? I mean, there's no canyons out here. There's no giant oceans or whatever. I mean, but yeah, it doesn't match up to what New York City looks like. And anyway, at the end of the movie, Charlton Heston returns. The apes attack the mutants. The Alpha Omega bomb is the bomb that's going to blow up the whole world. They throw ropes around it. Again, another violent movie because they machine gun James Franciscus, and that was always gross too. He just slides down the wall, and this big blood smear, is there. And then
it was that 1970s bright red blood that they used to use always in those movies.
It was like, God, where did that come from? And then the best is, it's James Gregory who plays, is it Aldo?
Yes.
Or am I got? Yeah. And he's the one who's like, the only good human is a dead human. And he's the guy from Barney Miller. He would play Inspector Luger when I was a kid. He was a staple on the Barney Miller show. But he's very distinctive. You hear his voice. He's also in some old Twilight Zones and an episode of MASH too. But he's the one that they lead the attack on the mutants. And then Taylor gets machine gun.
Yes.
And he reaches up and, you know, he launches the bomb. And talk about another depressing thing as a kid. You get, is it Paul Frees, the guy that's the narrator? He did all those like Disney cartoons. He's like in a remote part of the Milky Way galaxy, in a non-discrete yellow star. There's a third planet, and it is now dead. Good night, everybody. I mean, I saw that as a kid, and because what happens is the nuclear bomb goes off, and somehow it blows up the Earth. We don't know what exactly happens. But man, was that a downer? I mean, I was like, I saw it on TV, and I was like, the Earth we're all dead.
Yep.
That's what happened. Forget, you know, everybody's apes take over. The fact that the Earth could be blown to bits was just really dark and depressing, you know. All those
how could you do a sequel after the Earth is
blown
up?
You would think it's over.
That's
but
right.
No.
A year later, Escape from the Planet of the Apes.
They found the crash ship from Taylor. It was Milo, who was played by Sal Mineo, who's from West Side Story. And you had Roddy McDowall back and Kim Hunter. They found his ship. They somehow got it to work, and they went back in time. And they ended up, you know, in
1971,
71, 72, something like
America,
that.
yeah.
Yeah.
And they became a bit of a media sensation, and it was a bit of a satire and a look on things. And then, of course, it, as we mentioned earlier, it turned dark, where they found out with the baby, you know, the baby was as intelligent, their little child. They get gunned down. The baby, you would assume, is killed. It gets shot and thrown into the water. But no, Ricardo Montalban is there as a circus owner, and he saves it. And that little baby is Caesar.
Caesar, you know, you are just like your mother and father. I'm going to call you Caesar. He is great. I love Ricardo Montalban. Forget, you know, Fantasy Island, Wrath of Khan. He's got that delivery. He was a really like cool actor. You know what I mean? And he just picks up the little baby. And at the end of it, another freakish thing, you hear, mama, mama. You're like, oh, the baby can talk. Oh my God. This is what's going to start the whole thing. So yeah, again, even though I got scared as a kid, as an adult, I watched it and Escape from the Planet of the Apes. It's really funny. It's really well done. Well written. The acting's great. Kim Hunter. We forgot to mention, not many people know that Roddy McDowall does not play Cornelius in the second movie.
No, he doesn't. I don't know why he didn't come back. Do you know why?
No, he was busy doing another movie, and they couldn't get him, so they hired another British actor. I never knew it as a kid. It wasn't until years later as an adult I go, wait, that was, because you can't tell with the masks on. But I'm like, oh wait, that's not Roddy McDowall's voice. It's close, but it's not. But anyway,
it's like, you know, it's like when they do C-3PO with someone other than Anthony Daniels. You just know.
You did, or when Peter Mayhew wasn't in Chewbacca, you could just tell the way he was like, that's not him.
Yeah.
So then number 3 is actually a really big hit, Escape from Planet of the Apes.
Conquest of the Planet of the Apes is a year.
I was going to say,
amazing they do them each year, you know, like Conquest of the Planet of the Apes.
You got to remember, like James Bond movies were coming out like every 2 years, but there was that Roger Moore. I think there was one, Live and Let Die, and
that
the
was
other
71, I think, and then
the Golden Gun. They came out within a year or so. They were really close together.
Yeah.
So there was a lot of sequels going on, and the Conquest. Again, I saw this one on TV. I did not see this in the theaters. This movie it's got a lot of things going on here. You know what I mean? It works on a lot of levels. It has basically the apes are servants to the humans. They have them as cooks and maids and butlers, and they're doing all the service
because
work.
There's this spaceborne disease that ends up
kills all the cats and dogs.
Yeah. So no one has
that
pets.
bummed me out. Yeah, that bummed me out as a kid. It's like, oh no, the dogs and cats died. When the astronauts came back from the moon, they had some type of disease or whatever. You know, lunar
rabies.
Yeah, rabies.
Space rabies.
Space rabies, space herpes. So the only one who could talk, though, now here's where it gets weird, is still Caesar. But what they do is they're starting to question Ricardo Montalban about where, because the government wants to know what happened to that baby. They never really expected or suspected that was the baby that they got killed. They kind of knew that something happened to him. So instead of revealing where the baby Caesar is, he jumps out the window and kills himself.
Yeah.
It's like, well, okay, there's that, you know. So he's dead. And then they start looking for Caesar. Now, he could talk, but then he starts getting like become this military leader or something like that, you know? And at the end of the movie, again, this terrified me. There's a rebellion. All the apes just go ape. And there's a scene where they show like the ones in the kitchen grabbing like meat cleavers and knives. And I'm like, holy crap. And they go at the humans and it's not nice. They panned up so you didn't see the violence, but you could see in the shadows the hands swinging down and the clubs and everything like that. Your brain kind of filled it in what was happening there. And the funnier thing is they filmed that part of it over the Studio City out in California, right there on the set. So it had that futuristic look with the the concrete and the way the stairs work and everything. So it's actually Century City, I believe it is, out in New York. We forgot to mention the original Ape City is right down the street for the ranch where MASH was. So when the TV show,
that makes sense because that
landscape,
sort of the it looks similar.
The hills. Yeah, that's the ranch where the 20th Century Fox ranch where they filmed MASH. They would say as the bus drove down the road to get to where the swamp was and the 4077, you would go by Ape City. The sets were still standing. They didn't take them down. They left them there. So you would drive by like the little lake and you could see where they had the lawgiver statue and all that stuff. So that must have been interesting. But this one they filmed in Century City. The other thing that note about all the Apes movies is even though they were still popular, they slowly started diminishing returns
and the budgets got lower
lower. We forgot to mention that in the second movie they didn't want to spend so much money on the makeup, so they actually just bought cheap rubber monkey masks for the extras in the background, and you could see it when they're doing those crowd scenes when they're having the rally and the gorillas are like let's fight. If you look in the background you can see that they're just wearing rubber masks. So anyway, the last of the Apes movies is the worst one. And that has John Huston, Paul Williams, who I know you love from the Muppet movie, and Roddy McDowall once again. And it's got Caesar in it, but there's a weird time jump in it because basically all the humans are kind of living out in the like savages and
and they're sort of the slaves to the monkeys. So that's in 1973's final one, Battle for the Planet of the Apes.
I used to see the commercials for that as a kid, like go see it, the final battle for the Planet of the Apes. But they had no budget. They had school buses in this big epic battle scene. You're like, what is that all about? And Sheriff Lobo, Claude Akins, another veteran actor, he shows up as the bad guy. And they have the big fight at the end. And again, such low budget. his character, it's not Aldo, but it's I can't think of his name.
Not Ursa's not in it
Ursa's.
anymore. No.
He kills Caesar's son. He falls out of a tree and he dies or whatever like that. But he causes the kid to, and then you get the whole big ape shall not kill ape, ape kill ape, and they start doing this chant. And the fight takes place in the trees between the two characters, and one of them falls and dies, and it's just lame. And at the end, what? Go ahead. I was going to say at the end.
I was just going to say the end has a little bit of hope because there is the opportunity that, you know, humans and apes can coexist together.
Well, talk about weird endings. When the Conquest of Planet of the Apes, there was another ending for that. That was a very nihilistic. Apes killed all the human guys. And then when they saw a test screening, the audiences were like, whoa, what is this all about? So if you watch that movie, they went back in there, and as Roddy McDowall does his speech, they crop it so you can't see his mouth a little bit, because just as the apes are about to wipe out the humans, they cut to his girlfriend, and she's like crying, the gorilla girlfriend, the ape girlfriend, and she's like, no, you know, like that. And then he goes, oh, okay, I'll have a change of heart. And then he goes, but today we are going to be, you know, lenient, and we're not going to kill the humans, and this is the Planet of the Apes. But he does like this whole change of heart. It's so hokey and tacked on at the last minute. You can tell, you're like, that's not the real ending. This is something that the execs went in and like, no, you got to fix that. And then this one here, this movie ended, and then you know what was on next?
A TV
show. That's right.
They kept milking those apes for
Ron Harper, who we know as Uncle Jack from Land of the Lost, was the blonde guy. It was like Starsky and Hutch went to the Planet of the Apes. Because
it was like fake Starsky and Hutch.
When you couldn't get the Mego Starsky and Hutch dolls, when I was a kid, they didn't have them out yet. I remember my buddy goes, hey, why don't you just get the two dudes from the Planet of the Apes TV series? Because they looked the same. They had the blonde hair. The other guy is Naughton. Is it James Naughton or something? He was the dark.
Definitely not David Naughton, but yes.
No. But then there was a show, but this one took place not in the New York area. This took place on the other coast. This was like, meanwhile, on the Planet of the Apes, this is what's going on the San Francisco Wild Western part of it. And Roddy McDowall was back, but this time he played a guy named Galen, a monkey named Galen, or an ape named Galen, not Cornelius. Maybe it's his brother. But I don't know what they were thinking, because it was a Planet of the Apes show, but it was more like a Western where they were on the run. It was like The Fugitive. It was dumb, you know.
It wasn't great. It only lasted one season, but it did generate a lot of toys. And we'll get to that in a minute. So after the TV series failed, you know, one season, you know, it didn't, at least it didn't get cut all the way through.
It went a whole season. And I remember it was on a Friday night. And the reason why I think it didn't do well, because I know as a kid, you had to make a choice. Do you watch the Planet of the Apes at 8 o'clock on CBS, or do you watch the $6 Million Man on ABC?
And you know $6 Million Man.
$6 Million Man won and wiped the apes out, because I was like, yeah, I like apes, but I like Bionic Guy better. So
and then a year later, so 75, they did a cartoon show. So Return to the Planet of the Apes.
Yeah, the animation's cool on the opening sequence.
Yeah, it is. But a lot of people, I think, complained a bit because it was quite static. So they had really, if you watch the episodes, they've got really detailed paintings and backgrounds, and you know, like they might pan over something, but wasn't a lot of animation or movement.
No, they would reuse the same bits again and again, like the horse rearing up, or the guy. That was I can't think of the studio. Is it Lou Scheimer or something like that?
Lou Scheimer, maybe. It was the people who did Johnny Quest.
Yeah, it was very stiff. They didn't spend money on that show.
Yeah, and so that you know, that sort of came and went, and you know, you can get all of these on DVD if you want to watch it. But the TV series, really, I mean, there was some toys related to the movies, those earlier movies, and there was a lot of like rack toys where you could get like a parachuting ape from Planet of the Apes and things like that. But Mego, that fantastic 70s and early 80s licensee, brought out toys based on the TV show and the movies as well. And the one that I've got here next to Chester, who's just he's actually a puppet but not related, is one of the Mego figures. So you can see see those. They were really quite detailed. Did you know these moccasins here?
Yes.
What I think that Hutch is wearing as well.
Oh,
they made
yeah. Mego is famous for reusing body parts and stuff. They were a cool company, but they were a cheap company. A little known fact there, they used that doll's body for the Falcon Marvel character.
Oh, yeah.
Because you could tell, because some of them you could actually see there's like molded
on the hands.
Yeah.
So they came out with a lot of the.
They're not spending money. Just reuse the bodies we already made.
Well, why not? Why not? Especially if they're covered with costumes, it doesn't really matter.
Yeah,
but
I know.
They made the figures, they made like the play sets.
Oh, Ape City was an awesome play set. It was like 2 levels and stuff. And the commercials, there was great Mego commercials. I remember the Planet of the Apes commercials because they had Star Trek at the time, the world's greatest superheroes.
Yep.
But the Planet of the Apes commercials were crazy. They had the music and they
were great. The toys were fantastic, and they you can still get them today, where they are making newer versions of the Planet of the Apes classic series, including Charlton Heston and things like that. But they had lots of they had books.
I was gonna say they have coloring books. There's a coloring book right there.
Now that's an odd one, because that's from Escape from the Planet of the Apes with the little baby.
Well, not only that too, but if you look at it, it looks like Mary and Jesus and
doesn't it?
Joseph. It's like, wow, somebody was really Catholic there. Look at that. But that's a coloring book, and it's such a good, warm-hearted coloring book that yes, kids, you could color what happens to the Earth at the end. So there you go. It tells the whole story of the Planet of the Apes. But there was books on record. I remember that. You'd get those like little 45s and you'd listen to the thing, and they were adaptations of the Marvel comic. Here's one of them. This is the British version, where they would have half of it the Marvel superheroes and the other half Planet of the Apes.
Though it's funny looking at that. It says on the cover, I thought that says Jason Alexander returns. Have a look.
Jason and Alexander.
Oh, okay. I was going to say, wow.
Wow, he got around. But no, there was a black and white Planet of the Apes magazine that Marvel Comics put out. It had beautiful covers. I mean, it lasted like 20-something issues. They're not easy to come by now, but boy, oh boy, they took their time. And this one was new adventures of Taylor and the whole gang there, Nova going on down there. But there was toys, there was records, there was t-shirts.
There was a board game that they
I'm
brought
sure
out.
there was. There had to be a lunchbox.
There was, and Voz, I'll show it right now. So there was a lunchbox and thermos as well that came out. So there was lots of trading cards. I do remember trading cards for the.
I remember the trading cards.
They had ones for the earlier movies, and then they had one for the TV show as well.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure I remember. I'm thinking maybe my memory's foggy, but I thought there was a Viewmaster as well for the
probably
TV series.
The TV show. Yeah.
And now you can get, like, there's plenty of modern Planet of the Apes. As I said, Mego.
I was going to say Mego. Yeah, Mego just came out, and then they had a special. Like, Mego's weird. They have them come out. You can get them in Target and Walmart and some specialty comic book shops. But then they do the special Mego collectors that you have to buy them online, or you have to get them at a convention. They came out with the Mutants and Taylor, but those were like one-off, exclusive. Those go for big money. And then Hot Toys put out replicas of the original Planet of the Apes characters too, with Taylor and Cornelius and Dr. Zaius and stuff. Those are really well done. Those go for a couple $100 too. And if that wasn't enough, I'm going to say, I don't know if there was ever a Planet of the Apes video game, not for the original ones, because there was really no video game.
I think there was one for the Tim Burton remake.
I was going to say, when they did the Tim Burton movie, which is a horrible movie. I'll just tell you this now. The Tim Burton movie, they have great makeup effects, great actors are
Charlton
in the
Heston
movie.
returns.
Charlton Heston is in it. Yeah, and Marky Wahlberg's in it. Marky Mark.
Awful.
And
he's not a good actor.
What was the big fella's name? Michael Duncan Clark.
Yeah. Oh yes.
He's one of the things. bow your heads to Zemo or whatever the big thing was. It's just a bad movie. It just falls apart. I honestly going to put it all on Marky Mark. He's just not a good actor, and he kills that movie. Maybe if there was a different actor in that role, it would have been okay.
Yep.
But he's not selling it. And at the end, they have a twist ending too, where he comes back to the earth, and just like you thought it was Planet of the Apes, it might have been, because the Abraham Lincoln statue in Washington, D.C.
Yes.
is a giant ape sitting there, not Abraham Lincoln. And then they did, is it Matt Reeves?
Yes, who did? He didn't do the first. I think he certainly did the second two, where they did the sort of like a prequel to the Planet of the Apes.
Well, the first one with Lithgow and James Franco is actually really, really good, and it shows like what probably happened, and they show how the apes began to get smart and they began to talk, and there's little Easter eggs referring to the original Planet of the Apes in there, because in the background you'll see on the newspaper headlines, that's the spaceship that Taylor's on. Yeah, that goes up. It's like, oh, spaceship lost in space, or NASA reports ship lost. That's that ship. And at the end, they show how the virus spread that slowly wipes out a lot of the human, I think 98% of the human population. And it's just like and it coughs, and a pilot has it, and it just shows how it spreads. Geez, I wonder how that virus spreading around the world stuff works.
That's right.
And then they had the second one, and then the third one, again, very disappointing, called Battle for the Planet of the Apes, I think it was called, or the Dawn of the Planet of the Apes with Woody Harrelson.
Yeah, that's what I've lost track of the new. I never really got into the newer ones for some.
No, it was Dawn of the Planet of the Apes, and then there was Birth of the Planet or something. But at the end of the last one, they show the virus that comes around, and the humans begin to lose their speech, because if you remember the original, humans couldn't talk.
Yes,
that was the whole thing about Taylor being able to talk, because they weren't talking. So you see the humans start to get a virus, and they start losing their speech, and they start losing it, and on and on and on. But well done. But the only problem is it's too well done. The apes are too good looking. They're riding horses. They're firing machine guns, but they're never going to turn into Roddy McDowall and Kim Hunter. They look too realistic. And that's the sad thing about those movies. They're well done. They look great, but I wouldn't have minded a little rubber mask on an actor and a little coat or something. You know what I mean? So
I think there's something to be said about, prosthetics and actually having an actor, there
practical set.
Yeah. Instead of in a motion capture suit, because, it's hard to act towards that, I imagine, but,
Yeah, but I think Planet of the Apes ended up going down. The sequels ended up, and then a little movie called Star Wars came around in 1977.
Yeah,
and pretty much took over as the biggest space toy movie.
That's right, and that's where I do remember in the Mad magazine parody that came out, because they kept calling Chewbacca, I think, a reject from Planet of the Apes. I remember saying that in there, but the originals that really won the one to beat. It is fantastic. The sequels, again, varying quality, but if you're a completist, you can certainly get a box set of them. They are worth watching, and the toys are pretty cool as well. And there's so much to collect about it.
Are they expensive though, Mr. Toy Collector?
Some of them are like this is like a maybe a $40 to $50 maybe figure. Not super expensive. The play sets really are the ones, like that. The vinyl. There was the Ape City, and then there was another one which was a vinyl. Mego were doing a lot of those vinyl covered plastic play sets and things like that, and they usually go for a little bit of money. So, but you can always find some interesting things. I'm sure Ruby's did a costume of that. Oh my God, are you able to speak, Mitch? Are you okay?
Yeah, no, I'm fine. Whatever you had, it's coming to me now. It's like,
that's all right. So there's lots.
I was going to say they did a lot of they did a lot of comic books in the last couple of years. There's been sequels to Planet of the Apes. They've had Tarzan on the Planet of the Apes. King Kong goes to Planet of the Apes. The Green Lanterns go to the Planet of the Apes. Star Trek in the Planet of the Apes. And they even have sequels and prequels and side stories about what happened to the spaceship when it crashed in the water. How did the other apes find it and rebuild it? What happened to the astronaut that gets lobotomy? They tell his story too. So there's a lot of ape related books and comic books out there. So you can go ape all day. So it's still around. I mean, it's been 55, 60 years since the Well, 55 years or 50 years. I'm sorry.
Yeah, well,
something like that. It's old.
No, it's 54 years technically.
Well, the book. No, I'm saying the book
since
came
the book.
out in the 60s.
Yeah. No, you're right.
Yeah.
You're right.
Yeah.
So if you want to find out more about Planet of the Apes or maybe some other classic science fiction films from the 70s, like Logan's Run, Star Wars, or a few other things, what can you do, Mitch?
Well, Ed, is as easy as going into a prison and getting hosed down by a giant gorilla. All you do is subscribe to our show, hit the notification button, and like us. You really, really like us. Like Sally Field.
Thank you.
That's
Sally.
it. That's all there is.
All right. So thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed the episode. We'll be back with another exciting episode of Mitch and Ed's. Don't slip on that, Mitch. Mitch
I know.
And Ed's excellent adventure soon. So thanks for watching and take care.
Goodbye.